Meeting of the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals. All members are meeting is being live streamed. Got it. Let's see, everybody is participating remotely. That includes Mr. Baker Sr., myself, Rob Rosa, Greg Tanzi, Tim Haynes, Robert Baker Jr., and Mr. Stephen Galley. Are we missing somebody? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Mr. Baker Sr., this is his first meeting as a full board member. I'd like everybody to say congratulations, welcome to the board.
Congratulations, welcome to the board.
Welcome to the board.
Okay, I would entertain a motion for to open the public meeting.
So moved.
Need a second?
I'll second it.
I got a second. Roll call. Mr. Baker Sr.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Tanzi,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
and Mr. Baker Jr.
Yes.
Okay, meeting is open. What do we do? I'm going to read let me read the legal ad. Remotely conducted continuance public hearing will be held by the Rockland Zoning Board of Appeals on Tuesday, August 3rd, 2021 at 7:30 p.m. on the application submitted by Robert Manzella, trustee, Manzella and DeGrande Trust, for variance pursuant to subsection 415-22 and 415-89.1 to allow for the construction of a single-story duplex two-family residence at the premises known as and numbered 0, aka 24, Manzilla Court, Rockland, Massachusetts. The property is located in the R2 residence zoning district. Section 415-9 of the bylaw, and is further identified as lot 254-29. Yeah, lot 254. I guess it's map 29 on Rockland Assessors maps. The owner of the property is Robert Manzilla, trustee of the Manzilla and DeGrande Trust of 21 Manzilla Court, Rockland, Massachusetts. The applicant and all interested parties are advised to check the town's website and the zoning board's webpage for additional information on remote meeting details. Further details and plans for this project are on file in the town clerk and zoning board's office and may be viewed online at our website. Okay, so what I got is, let's see, this is we got a letter from, it's Adam Brodsky of Dorian Taccio and Morgan PC. Let's see, dear Chair Rosa, you will recall this office represents Robert Manzilla, trustee of the Manzilla and DeGrande Trust in connection with this matter. Going back up, 24 Manzilla Court, Rockland, parcel map 54, lot 29, application for variance. Mr. Manzilla requests that he please be permitted to withdraw the pending variance application without prejudice. Accordingly, please let us know whether we will need to attend the next public hearing on August 3rd, 2021. Thank you for your time and courtesy. Very truly yours, Adam J. Brodsky, Dorian Taccio, and Morgan PC. Anybody got any questions? We can add, and no, everybody's happy.
Yeah.
Motion accepted.
All right, I heard it. I got a motion.
Second.
I got a second. We need a roll call at this point. We got Mr. Baker Sr. Oh, and actually, just so we're clear, we have a full board. All board members are voting. That's Mr. Baker Sr., myself, Mr. Tanzi, Mr. Haynes, and Mr. Baker Jr. So I got a motion. I got a second. I got a roll call. Mr. Baker Sr.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Tanzi.
Yes.
Mr. Haynes.
Yeah.
And Mr. Baker, where are you? Junior, right there.
Yes.
All right, so we got that's a vote. All right, and as far as I can see, that letter has already gone, that letter technically has already gone out to Mr. Brodsky. Is that correct, Deb? Yes, okay, so the letter's already gone out. They've already been notified. Technically, I think we should have waited to get that letter out.
Okay, I can send them a letter tomorrow telling them that the that the withdrawal was accepted at the meeting, at the hearing.
Yeah, I think that's how we should do that. No more of this preemptive strike stuff. I like it. I like the idea, but
okay,
we gotta kind of, the decision isn't made until right now. That's the problem. So so if we can just resend the letter and just say yes, based on the board's voting on the meeting, blah blah blah. So we're gonna cancel. We're gonna close that. And so that's good. So now we need, where are we? Let's see, what's the rest of the agenda have for us tonight? Oh, all right. So now, now we got a full board again. So we can talk about the board of reorganization. If anybody wants to step up and be chairman, I have no problem with it. If you want me to continue, I have no problem with it. This is the reorganization. So if anybody wants to step up and nominate somebody for a different position, let's talk.
As far as I'm concerned, you are welcome to continue to carry on.
Thank you,
It's
sir.
a pleasure to serve under you.
I'm going to say that everybody's pretty much happy with where we are. The only thing that we need to talk about is we haven't had a clerk for a long time. Stanley Cleaves was the clerk. Prior to him, Greg, do you remember who was clerk prior to him?
Yeah, I forget his name.
I think I know who we're talking about. It was Andy something, I think. I don't remember, but the point is that Stan was the last clerk. I'd like to, and again, this is based on his absolute reading ability and basically your speaking voice, Mr. Haynes. I'd like you to be the clerk. I'd like to nominate Mr. Haynes to be the clerk. So when it comes right down to
My
reading,
speaking voice.
yeah, it's honestly, man.
I'll second that.
Oh, we got a
Third.
second. Well, we got a third on that one. Mr.
You guys
Haynes,
liked me.
I would nominate Mr. Haynes. I have a vote and I have a vote and I have a second. Mr. Haynes, would you like to be the clerk?
Sure, I'm happy to do it.
Rock and roll. All right, so we got that. So everybody stays the same. Welcome Mr. Haynes to the position of zoning board clerk. Welcome, sir.
Should we do an official vote, Rob?
Yeah, we might as well. I've got a
My first
motion in a
duty as
second.
clerk was going to be to say the same thing.
I would actually make a motion prior to voting on the nominees. I'd move that nominations be closed.
Okay, let's
Second.
close the nom. We got the, Mr. Baker Senior, you can do that.
I
Mr. Baker
second
Senior, you got that. I need a second. Who wants to second that?
that. Okay.
I got a second over there. So either way, we're gonna take a vote on all of it. Mr. Baker Senior,
In favor.
in favor, myself in favor, Mr. Tanzi,
In favor.
Mr. Haynes,
I'm in favor.
Mr. Baker Jr.,
In favor.
rock and roll. All right, so we got that. Let's see. Next is discussion and vote to approve signatories for fiscal year 2022
Yeah,
for.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman, I think we should vote on the various offices too. You as chair.
Oh,
Greg
no,
as
no,
vice
that's fine.
chair.
That's fine.
So I would make a motion that Mr. Rosa serve as chair, Mr. Tansey serve as vice chair, and Mr. Haynes serve as clerk.
Okay, I got a motion. I need a second.
Second.
I got a second. We're gonna roll call Mr. Baker. Do you have Mr. Baker Senior?
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Tanzi,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
and Mr. Baker Jr.
Yes.
Done. Does that satisfy everybody? That works? Okay.
Yeah.
Next thing is discussion and vote to approve signatories for fiscal year 2022 for zoning board payroll authorization, encumbrances, and expenditures as follows. Primary signature is myself as chairman. Alternate signature is Greg Tanzi as vice chairman, or a majority of the members. So if I'm not here, if Greg's not here, then it's a majority of everybody else. Which also includes associate members, Mr. Galley. So this is going to come down to you too. And I guess that's really about it. Is everybody in favor of that?
Mhm.
I sign. If I'm not available, Greg signs. And if Greg's not available, everybody votes and everybody signs.
Sounds good.
Yes. All right, I need a motion.
So moved.
I got a motion. I need a second. I got a second. Roll call, Mr. Baker Senior.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Tanzi,
Yes.
Mr. Haynes,
Yes.
and Mr. Baker Jr.
Yes.
So moved. There you go. Non-deliberative announcements and scheduling. Deb, you got anything specific on that?
I do not.
Okay, I'm gonna
I
leave,
know the next hearing this month is Shingle Mill.
you know, that we're all looking forward to it.
That's
Yeah,
at 6:30.
That's at 6:30, and as of late, as far as I know, we have yet to receive anything from them package-wise. Is that correct, Deb? You would
I
be the
have not
first one to
received
know.
anything.
All
I
right,
know
well,
Candy was gonna follow up. I have not heard back from her regarding any documents that she has.
now it is what it is, so I'm not gonna worry about it. If in turn they get a new package to us or something like that, and it's 3 days before the meeting, I think we all know what we have to do when it comes, we're not gonna talk about it. And it comes down to, we're all gonna need time to look at this. And if it's 3 days before the meeting, that's not gonna be time for any of us, because Pat Brennan's also gonna have to look at it to make sure that there's no changes to the drainage. So we'll burn that bridge when it comes to it. Approval of the minutes. Did everybody get the minutes? I saw the minutes last minute. I read everything. It was pretty simple. It was basically the same continuance that we did prior. And now he's withdrawn. So was everybody okay with the minutes? I didn't see it being bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
They look
okay.
fine.
Everybody
What
okay?
what was the date on that meeting, Mr. Chairman?
Let
It
me
was
pull that up.
July,
Kim, you got that right quick?
7-6.
All right,
July
then
6th.
all right, then I would make a motion that the minutes of the meeting of July 6th be approved as presented.
I have a motion. I need a second.
second,
I got a second. Roll call. Mr. Baker Jr., Mr. Baker Senior.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Greg, Mr. Tanzi,
Yes,
Mr. Haynes,
yes.
and Mr. Baker Jr.
Yes,
There you go. Minutes approved. Kim, you can get those to town clerk.
Yep.
Rock and roll. All right. Is there
Adjourn.
anything else anybody want to talk about before we do that? Anything anybody else want to talk about?
I got one thing.
Mr. Galley, I
Go
see
ahead.
the hand up.
Yes, for the next meeting, I'm gonna be out of state. I'm gonna try.
Okay.
I'm not a voting member, so I don't think it'll be a harm if I actually can't attend it, but I'm gonna try to attend it remotely while I'm out of state.
Rock and roll. Well, it's all gonna, it's all remote anyway. If you can do it, great. If you can't, it's really not a big deal. The big deal is the fact that you came out and you said it. So we know that right off the bat. If you just ghosted, then that's not a great thing. But the communication is necessary, and I thank you for that, sir. Both Deb and Kim, just kind of make a mental note of that. And if there's any issues, any questions, or any problems trying to log on, you've got my cell phone number, you got Kim's email, you got Deb's email, you've got everybody's cell phone number as far as I know. So if there's any problems, then just call us and let us know. And again, if you can't do it, it's not a big deal. I appreciate you for letting us know that.
Thank you.
Anybody else got anything to say?
I wanted to mention one thing that came out of our training session.
Yes, please.
So-
Yeah. How'd you like that training session?
It
Got my
was
money's worth.
illuminating.
What do you got to say, sir? Yeah,
So besides our zoning code, there's this whole other state regulation about how to run zoning meetings and things we're supposed to do, not the least of which is the election of these officers and what we're supposed to have. So honestly, I really hadn't looked at it, and there was a lot of stuff in there I really wasn't aware of. And one of the things I noticed was that we can create our own set of rules as a board, file those rules with the town. So it did make me wonder, has that been done in the past? Is there a set of operational rules that's at the town? And if not, some of the things we talk about as a board, like they better have that thing in 2 weeks ahead of time, maybe that would be covered. And the way that the law read is we make the rules and then file them. So
Yep.
might be worth pursuing a bit.
The only thing that I've seen so far specifically is the instructions when it comes to the zoning packet. When it comes to the zoning form that they have to fill out, those are the only ones that I know of. Mr. Tanzi, you were on the board a lot longer than I was. Have you ever seen anything like that ever come out? Did you guys ever talk about it?
No, I've never seen anything formally codified in writing. I know that there are standard, the standard protocols that we adhere to when we open and close meetings and take votes and whatnot. That's pretty much the standard that we've been going through. But it probably is a good idea to discuss, what type of a lead time we want submissions, because lately it has been getting a bit out of control with.
Of course it has.
Things have been filed the day before and applicants wanting us to act on it and approve it. And it's like, give me a break.
Mr. Tanzi, you and I have talked about this when it comes to updating the rules, basically the rules, the written down rules and regs for applications and applicants. I think it's not necessarily outdated, but I think the wording needs to be changed a little bit. Deb, you were going to look for the Word document that was the current. Do we have something that can be edited easily without just physically cutting and pasting? All right, so we have that. All right, Deb, can you do the board a favor and email a Word document? Yeah, I'm assuming it's a Word document.
Yes.
Can you email that Word document to everyone? Because I want everybody's input on it. Number one, that's going to be the place where we basically delineate time standards when it comes to submission applications. There are some things that are quick. All right, there are some things that are quick that you really only need 20 minutes, maybe half an hour to really review. But we all know that, and not specifically with the giant 40B applications, there are other ones that we need to look at. It still comes down to a certain amount of time prior to the meeting. And I don't know what that should be. I don't want to talk about it right now. I want everybody to take a copy of the document, mark it up, do some red lines, whether it's handwritten red lines or red line, just do red line typing inside the document somehow, some way. Modify anything that you think is necessary, modify it. And then next meeting, we'll have another deliberative sit down and we'll go over everybody's stuff. Does that work?
Yeah, that works. One other thing that I know that you and I have discussed this on a number of occasions, Rob, and what I see happening right now, which I think is great, is we're starting to get electronic copies of these filings emailed to us. Some of these filings are probably going to be too big to email. They, greater than 10 meg. But I think we should think about somehow getting an electronic copy, emailed to us, or a notification that an electronic copy has been submitted, and then maybe we download that or look at it on the website if it's a large filing.
That was something that Candy did a physical. I think she did like a physical cut and paste onto the application and was making copies and scan that. So that's definitely something that we can put inside the application. A digital, digital is required, even after or even if they force us to go back to live meetings. I think digital is required.
Yeah. And I don't think we should be doing this. I think the applicant should be doing all this, putting a PDF together, reducing the file sizes, because that's what I have to do. In most of my towns, they're
Oh,
requiring
yeah.
it right now. And for
Absolutely.
everything, for every application, as built, Board of Health, Planning Board, Concom, you name it, they want everything in an electronic form. The cover letter, the paperwork documentations, reports, plans, all that stuff.
Oh, that's it. And you bring that up. That's another good thing. I know everybody has a ton of time to be able to do this, but you can go on pretty much every single municipal website, Braintree, Hingham, Weymouth, Quincy. You can go on just about every town's website and you can look at their zoning board applications. You can look at their zoning, you can look at their zoning, their zoning rules and regs. If you get a chance, make a comparison. Make a comparison between what we're doing and what a different town is doing. Stereotypically, Rockland has always been oh, I like that town. Let's just copy their stuff. Typically, that's what it's been. I'd like to think that things are different now. And the fact that, yeah, you can look at somebody else's stuff, but you don't have to plagiarize the damn thing. We can make
Right.
our own. All right.
Yeah.
I think that our ideas as a board coming together and again getting approved by the planning board and then getting taken to town meeting for the town to vote on it. I think as the zoning board, we need to start looking at that. The prior chairman, he always had something for town meeting. He always had something small, whether it was big, whether it was small. He always had changes to the current zoning. I talk to Tom all the time. Things need, this needs to change. The wording here needs to change. That needs to change. We need to add this in, and it kind of goes by the wayside. So I want to get back to us as a board looking at our zoning board regs, and not just filing regs, but our zoning board our zoning regulations. And maybe it's time for things to change, and again, it still has to be endorsed by the planning board or approved by the planning board. But I think that it's something we got to get back to. The town zoning bylaw is a living, breathing document. It needs to change. And it just needs to fit today's world, not a world from 30 years ago.
Well, one of the things that came up is that we should really be looking at it also in the context of the new master plan and making sure that they're working together. Exactly.
So we all got a lot to think about at this point. Deb, if you can please just email that out to everybody. Everybody will get a copy of it. Run through it. Look at, and these are just the zoning. These are just the applications to petition the zoning board. That's the first thing. Let's get that kind of together, and then we can start looking at specific rules and regs and make sure it works. And again, the other thing that I'm going to do is I want to talk to Tom. He is the zoning enforcement officer. I want to get his feeling on things and see if we can just start really, again, tailoring it to this town in this decade.
Sounds
That
good.
makes sense. Rock and roll. I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Can I speak for a second?
Oh, gee.
What?
Mr. Baker.
Real quick.
Okay.
When I was on the planning board, we used to discuss zoning changes. The zoning board would discuss them. Then we would have a round table before we submitted them to the selectmen for going on the warrants.
Yep.
And then it would be a joint submittal from the planning board and zoning board.
Right. Yep. And that's specific changes. we went over you and I went over this. When it came to this giant change with the FEMA thing, with the floodplain zone thing. They did kind of bypass us. But in the end, I understand why they did. It is a giant change. It's not that it's a giant change. It's just we never had it before. We never had a bylaw. We never had a flood zone bylaw. So I can understand why they did bypass us, because it's a new bylaw. It's not a modification to or something. So I can understand it. It is what it is. If ever, I don't know who, I went to the planning board meeting where they talked about it. Yeah, it still didn't really go over well, but once people kind of started to see that it was not geared towards one specific project in mind, I think everybody knows which project we're talking about. You know, it wasn't geared towards helping said project. I think everybody kind of backed off on it. So it's probably it sounds like it's gonna pass. And the town needs it at this point.
If you recall, one of the first things they said in our training was, if you want something to pass, you probably should get buy-ins from other boards and people. And
They
might have gotten it done a little faster. They just talk to more people.
Oh, absolutely. Mr. Haynes as an architect, Mr. Tanzi as a civil engineer, myself as a surveyor. You two have to design around this floodplain. I have to determine where it is. You know, it's like we know how this works. We know how this floodplain works. The rest of the town doesn't know how it works. And the sheer fact is that people were asking, well, how do I know if I'm in a floodplain? Well, are you paying flood insurance? No. Well, then you're probably not in a floodplain. And that's really what it comes down to. Anybody that's gotten a new mortgage, anybody that has a new mortgage, has refied, or if you've got a reverse mortgage within the last 30 years, and B, most specifically since 2005 with Katrina, because that's really when it kicked in, was Katrina. But anybody within the last 30 years that has done anything with a mortgage for their house, if you're in a floodplain, that lender is going to tell you that you're in a floodplain, you need more, you need flood insurance. And all it's going to do is, there's two things that it's going to do. Number one, it's going to allow the town to stay within I can't remember what they call it, but it's a specific affiliation that all the towns are in, that if you're in the group, you can get federally backed flood insurance cheaper than if you had to go to a private lender. If we don't have that bylaw in place, we're removed from that group, and any resident in the town that needs flood insurance has to go private, and they're paying 2, 3, 4 times what they would be paying if they were if the town just adopted the bylaw. That's number one. Number two, is it going to make things stricter? Not really, because if you're in a floodplain, you have to design by that anyway. The bank is going to tell you that you're in a floodplain. If you want to say that you're not, you can prove that you're not by calling a surveyor, an engineer, or an architect. But all right, we're going way off tangent. So, all right, anybody else? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I got a motion. I need a second. Roll call. Mr. Baker Senior.
Yes.
Myself is a yes. Mr. Tanzi.
Yes.
Mr. Haynes.
Yes.
Mr. Baker Jr.
Yes.
Smoke them if you got them. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, Kim. And public at large. I appreciate you all for showing up. Have a glorious
Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening, everyone. Take care.
Good evening, everyone, and thank you.